Hey y'all, hey, hope all is well with you. I am Leslie of LesAnn Creations, coming to you from a workroom. Hooty hoo! I'm here with another project. This will be a slight flow along as well as a reveal. It is a commercial pattern that I've done before. It's been some years, and I think it came out great. So make sure if you haven't already, like and subscribe to my channel. And here's a picture of the project as well as what I'm about to do. Like to work on this. Now, the one thing I will have to do before I work on this is I have to change the needle. I think if it's a 70, I'm fine. No, this is the 80. It's an 80. I'll change it to a 70. I have to change this to a 70 because I am working with chiffon, which is a very fine and thin material. So I'm doing that. Now, there's a couple things I am going to do slightly different on this. I'm not following the directions. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm not, for the most part. I am going to put the stay stitching around the neckline and pull the gathers because it's gathered at the back of the neckline. And then, what else? I think that's the only place that I am gathering. I may do one thing that it does not call for, but I'm probably going to do. On the sleeves, it does not call for a cuff or anything. It's just a regular hem. Now, to save myself a bit of stress, because working with chiffon is no joke sometimes, I am probably going to go ahead and I'll just kind of do it, show you by picture, the line drawing. Okay, you got the line drawing here. So I'm probably going to French seam the shoulders first. When I French seam the shoulders and get that completed, then I'm going to come back in and measure the distance of the sleeve, the end of the sleeve, measure it to see how big it is. Once I know how big it is, then I'm going to go ahead and cut the piece I want. Probably about 3 inch in width, because I'm going to fold it over. 3 inch in width. No guarantees. I may change my mind. But I am going to put that on the end. One, if the finish will look nicer. Plus, they'll give me a little bit more length. And that's probably the only thing that I am going to, quote unquote, definitely change. The other thing I will change is the I think it's in here. That's the other thing I guess I need to tell y'all. Okay. So in the direction, of course, you have to have the side seam sewn as well as the shoulder seams before you get to putting your actual binding around the edge. It calls for you to do one layer of binding, and then you're going to actually take and fold back and stitch down the binding like you're going to encase it. I'm not doing that. I'm going to sew both two layers together. After the two layers are together, then I'm going to go ahead and sew it in place, but then I'm going to serge it and then top stitch. Even though it is interfaced, which I finished doing the interfacing to all the pieces, so all pieces are interlaced, so it still has, you can see it still has some body, but it is weighted in comparison to this. Body, no body. Body, no body. Okay. So this should be a fairly quick project once I get this thread in here. So I'm going to get to, and let's hope I can get this done in maybe an hour and a half, because I need to do some work. So yeah, this took me a minute to find the needle, because I was looking everywhere else but the right place. There is a drawer attached to this machine that I usually keep my needles for this machine in, and I totally forgot because I don't change my needle a whole lot.
I know that sounds bad. I'll change it when it starts acting crazy. Not until then.
Try to make sure when I do a bobbin that I do two so that I don't have to stop in the middle of my project and rewind another bobbin.
One thing I always do after I wind a bottle or a bobbin or rethread my machine, I take the time to do a sample sew. I just pick a scrap piece of fabric and go ahead and sew it up. I learned to do this because sometimes the tension is off for different projects, and to avoid having to do something else, this is what I usually do. And it works out perfectly for the most part after I test it.
Now we're going to get started with sewing this project. The easiest thing for me was to do the facing first, sewing up each one of the seams. Now I will tell you, make sure when you do this particular project that you make all your markings, especially on the bottom facing, because the facing looks like it's the same even if you turn it upside down, but it's not. I did make that mistake and end up sewing it upside down, and it took to me almost finishing uh, putting the two facings together before I realized that I had sewn it wrong. So save yourself the headache and make sure you make all your markings. Now I got to the point of the project where I am pinning my shoulder seams. I am doing French seams for this, so I am printing the wrong sides together first. I did do all the pins. Chiffon shifts a lot, so you don't want it to slip or adjust. So make sure you clip and or pin a lot. I tend to pin where I can pull the pins out easily. I don't usually run it where the seam line is, and it works for me. Um, so I, of course, you can tell I keep on watching the TV, and this slows the process. But I still took me about an hour and a half to do this project. Once I complete sewing the shoulder seams, I'll go ahead and trim off about an eighth. I think it was about an eighth of an inch, or maybe a little bit more than an eighth, maybe a fourth, an inch off of each one of the seams. And then I'm going to take it to the iron and iron it where the right sides are matching and do that second row of stitching.
We have an issue going on. Working with chiffon, sometimes it's the devil, or any loose, flowy kind of fabric can be a devil. And it can do some things that you don't want it to do, but you got to figure out how to make it work. So I'm in the process of doing the side seams. I am doing French seams. It's not the French seam that's the issue, okay? French seam is not the issue. Let me show you. As soon as I find the end, okay? Right here, right here. You see, that is a 2-inch difference. So something got shifted, or I shortened something. I'm thinking that it's the back piece that's shortened by accident. So I'm gonna have to round it, and this has a binding that goes around it. So I'm gonna have to play to adjust it. It is what it is. Okay, yeah, I went on and go ahead and didn't worry about the difference between the inch and a half, 2 inches on the side. I didn't know how much I was going to have to remove until I actually applied the facing. So here I'm actually clipping one of the facings to the kimono. After I get that done, then that's when, of course, I sew it in place. Now, during the time that I am sewing it, I still leave a portion of the kimono not sewn up because remember, not only do I have to deal with the adjustment of the length that I had to deal with, um, of the 2 inches on both sides, it not matching, I also had to make sure that I made my curve just right so that it all matched. This part, of course, is always easy sewing it in place. Um, I do apologize that the camera is not showing you everything, but y'all pretty much know how to sew a facing on, right? Okay. Also, please don't forget, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to my channel. I am still trying to improve on how my videos, at least placement of my camera, but I'm still not gonna have a script because I am who I am, and I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. That's what you come back for. Anyway, back at the sewing. And somehow it shifted at the very bottom. Now, the worst part about it is this shift is not as far as this shift. This one's a little bit longer. So this is about 1.5 inches. This is about 2 inches. As I'm pinning it, I have managed to pin the facing into place. Somehow, as I'm pinning it, the bottom piece that is the exact same distance right here is shifted somehow this way. So it's skewed. I was wondering whether or not I want to fix it because it is at the base, or whether or not I'm going to shift it and make it work. I could probably just go ahead and do it, make it work, and match the seams, because it's not. Oh, I wonder. Oh, I think I know what's wrong. It's supposed to be this one. I may have to check. No, it can't be. It can't be because there's a clip right there. Okay, I'm starting to think I put the piece upside down, but I don't think I did. Let me see if I can find a pattern. And the only reason why I'm double checking. All right, y'all. So at this point in time, I'm actually picking up the pattern in order to double check and see where the pattern says about the pattern piece at the bottom of my facing. And as you can tell, I am frustrated because the instructions, not both sheets, is in my envelope. It was actually the one that belongs in that other envelope in there. And so I just have to make it do what it do because I can't find the piece. And I can't tell whether or not, and I didn't want to pull out the actual pattern piece to double check. So it happens. This is one of them times I'll make the pattern do what it do. If it's wrong, I'll deal with it later on. But right now, I'm a little too annoyed. My annoyance is this logically should be going in the opposite direction. I think I sewed this interfacing piece wrong. I say that because henceforth, okay, so when you have a bottom of something, it wants to taper in, and I have the taper in part towards the top versus at the bottom, so I may have did it backwards. So I'm gonna go ahead and change that part, which will give me a little bit more room. It's still fixable, so I'm not stressed. It's not completed, so we're good. Okay. We have managed to make progress, and I fixed the mistake. it's not finished. I still have to do the other layer of the facing. So I'll show you how it fits. It is oversized. I am actually an 18 on top and a 24 on bottom, so I should have like an extra large up here and maybe a 2X down here for it to fit well. That's why it's kind of oversized underneath the arms, but I'm not worried about that because it's actually just a, as they say, cover up, or a little jacket, whatever you want to call it, you know. So, and as I'm wearing it, I think because the print is so in your face, I think I'm going to go ahead and go with a solid, maybe jumpsuit or something. But doesn't mean that I won't come back and make me like something really like simple. Whatever I make to go with it, as far as if I use a print, it has to be like not busy because it'll be too much because it's already a lot of fabric. But I like it. I really do. It does inspire me to go ahead and do another one in a different print. So the other thing I did change on the sleeve is it's supposed to be just a rolled hem. I think a folded hem, double hem maybe. I didn't want to do that, so I decided to actually make a binding that was about 3 inches, I think. About 3 inches, and added it on, and I think it looks nicer and much more professional look, and it kind of coordinates and it gives a contrast at the bottom as well because I did it in the opposite direction. Is there anything else I would change? I'll show you this before I actually do the cutting off because you won't see that. So the excess that I ended up with is here. All I did was basically shift it and graded it, in essence, kind of adjusted it so that it would fill in more properly. I think it's fine. It's not a big issue because nobody else see it. Once I put the facing on, all of that will be encased.